everybody, I think. It's supposed to be, but nobody texted me.
Public Works to order on January 30, 2025. Would you, Ms. Edwards, please call the roll?
Commissioner Shea,
Present.
Commissioner Lemon,
Present.
and Mayor Donches,
Here?
and HIPAA Alderman Dowd.
Yes, we have Alderman Rick Dowd. Also, Corporation Counsel Steve Bolton. All right, first item on the agenda is approving the agenda. Commissioner Shea.
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like, to approve the minutes, I'm sorry? Commissioner Lemon.
I move to approve the minutes of the Board of Public Works meeting of December 19th, 2024.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Public comment. Is there any member of the public who wishes to address the Board of Public Works? No one's coming forward, so we will move to aldermanic referrals. Item A, Commissioner Shea.
I move to authorize the mayor to enter into an amended federal aid program project agreement with the state of New Hampshire for the purpose of installing rectangular rapid flashing beacons and to accept and appropriate an additional $86,344 for the project.
Mayor, may I speak on?
Yes.
I'm going
Ms.
to
Photo.
ask Engineer Hudson to join us, but I did want to point out that this was an addition to the agenda. We received this from the Board of Aldermen last minute, and they did need us to take action, so we placed it on the agenda this evening. That's why we have a goldenrod agenda, and Engineer Hudson will be happy to speak to it.
Thank you. Good
Here,
afternoon.
But you're gonna have to go over on the other side of Frank, because you're sitting in Commissioner Espedia's seat.
I can move.
No, you're fine.
Just
Just
for a
run.
second.
And
Okay.
Commissioner Espedia has arrived at 4:05.
Okay, good afternoon, Dan Hudson, City Engineer. So what this resolution does is it accepts additional federal share towards the STEP project that you may have heard of in the past. That's going to improve a number of pedestrian crossings in the downtown area. We're building some bump outs, we're putting in rectangular rapid flashing beacons, and those sorts of things to improve the safety of some crossings. So we had a previous agreement with DOT for a federal share, and this basically, prices were higher than we anticipated, so this accepts additional federal share so that we can award the project and commence with construction in the spring. Be happy to address any questions.
Anyone? Commissioner Shea?
This question, I guess, is to the room. Can we speak to the extent to which these funds, I assume, the state of New Hampshire already has? Is that correct?
Well, I kind of think where I know where you're going with the
Yeah.
recent fear of the federal funding freeze, which we've had a lot of discussion about recently. Of course, that was rescinded, and DOT's instructed us that we should proceed with all the projects that we have actively ongoing. We haven't started this project, so we haven't started accruing any billing, so I'm hoping that any confusion will be ironed out before that happens. But as normal course of business, we pay for work that's done, and then we seek for the federal share of the reimbursement. So the previous federal funding freeze wasn't clear to the extent of, were they talking about new awards? Was it, because we have existing contracts that are ongoing, did it apply to those? So there was a lot of confusion that wasn't resolved. But, our expectation is if things continue as normal with the usual work, that this would fall under that. We would sign this agreement, and we would execute a contract with a contractor. We would start work. We'd get a bill from them, we'd pay it, and then we'd seek for that 80% federal reimbursement share.
Follow up.
Yeah.
And so I'm open to approving this. I just want to understand kind of what our risk is. The federal government is doing things and undoing things, and, it's a mess, frankly. What's our risk as the department?
Yeah, I don't know what our risk is. I mean, this is, the total agreement here is like 600 and, the total budget for the project is $672,930. Of that, we spent some money in design, where the construction is gonna be about $590,000. So I guess our risk would be 80% of $590,000 if the NHDOT and federal government completely reneged on their end of the deal. I don't expect that to be the case. I mean, but that, I guess that would be the risk. The city has like 17 projects in the LPA program that falls in a similar funding scenario. We have 6 active projects, one of which is in construction. That's the Bridges to Hudson. Right this time of year, we're not active construction, so I'd be more concerned if we were spending $250,000, $500,000 a month right during construction, and then potentially having that be a jeopardy. In this case, that's not the case, because nothing's really happening right now. So we can sign this contract. I don't expect to start in the spring. At that point in time, hopefully we'll have better clarity on things going forward. But as I said, DOT's instructed us. It's instructed us to proceed under a normal course of business until further notice.
So it sounds like, in a worst-case scenario, if things do move forward, we may be in a position of risk to the tune of millions of dollars for our projects, whether it's money that we've spent that are not getting back, or progress for Nashua that we are not achieving because we have to cancel projects. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, we would. So we seek reimbursements on a regular basis, about a monthly basis. So we could potentially, if they say they shut down the system, we could be at jeopardy for about a month's worth of cash flow, whatever that is, that we've expended. So that does limit our risk a little bit. The fear would be is you're halfway through a construction project, a major construction project, that then, the federal funding stream stops and you have to figure out how to close out the project. Maybe you have to do more work to get to that point. I don't view this project as the same level of risk. Frankly, the stuff that's in this project is stuff that we could probably do if we had, ample time and resources to do it. It's not rocket science. It's putting some curbing in and putting some RFBs in, which we've done. So I view this as fairly low risk if things did go south and we had to finish this. Of course, that's not our preference. We'd rather move forward with this award and have it done expeditiously by a contractor.
And when on this particular contract do you think we would start to spend money?
It'll be spring, so they want to wait till the weather breaks. So we're looking at, April, May timeframe.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I expect the Board of Aldermen's going to have the same question, so.
Right. Fair questions.
Alderman Dowd.
Yeah, I can't remember for sure, but I think this went to budget, so I have a severe interest in it. So when you accept the money from the, I assume that's a grant from the federal government?
Yeah, it's an agreement we have with them. So yeah, it's a grant. They're committing to 80% federal share for the project. I'm sure somewhere in this agreement there's probably an out for them. I don't know. I'd have
Are they
to.
also going to sign the contract?
Yes. So we sign it. We send it to them. They sign it and they return countersigned copy.
I think on our school projects, once the government, commits, they're in for the whole amount. So.
Yeah, my expectation is the federal free stuff will be for not issuing new obligation of funds. I would hope that stuff they've already obligated, like at the outset of a contract, they have to go to Federal Highway and secure, say, okay, well, now we're obligating these funds for construction. Here's exactly what the contract is. I would hope that they wouldn't retract those funds, obligated funds. It would be like new projects. If a project is in the list and it needs to get deferred because, there's a funding freeze and we're not going to get new allocation, okay, well, that's one thing. But I sure hope they wouldn't stop project midstream. And, of course, there's projects active all across the country. I assume there'd be a lot of pushback on that. So yeah, I think having this, getting this approved and getting this obligated, hopefully will lock in these funds for this project.
So I think when you come to budget, if you could just check and see if there's any out paths.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no, I'll do that.
And who is it, federal DOT or state DOT that signs the contract?
So it's the state that signs it. They're kind of the middleman between us and the funds from Federal Highway. They manage the funds. It's a pass-through, as they say. So we're constantly working with NHDOT, but then they're keeping us apprised of their interactions with Federal Highway. So yeah, federal, we're all following all the federal regulations that get passed down as part of this funding, and they're at points in time securing the funding, and getting the federal obligation, things like that. So it's a collaborative effort, but no, this is an agreement between us and the New Hampshire Department of Transportation.
All right, anyone else? Commissioner Shea.
Use the word hope a lot. I hope all those things too. And I don't expect you to know, because it's kind of out of left field, this whole scenario. But the word hope just does not, nothing against you in
No, I
your choice of
understand.
words.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the whole context. It would be ideal if we had more clarity and insight as to what the real risks are for Nashua, because especially with transportation projects, like that has got to be I don't know, I could be wrong, but that's going to be a big share of the federal funding that we see as a city. So for our area, I think it's especially important that some clarity come together. And again, that's not directed at you, it's just we're doing the business of providing infrastructure for the community, and to have something like this hanging over our heads as we make decisions and the uncertainty, I don't think it's good, and I don't think it's helpful, and I appreciate all your insights. Thank you.
I agree with all your concerns as well. Yeah, certainly.
Anyone else? All right, the motion is to recommend this for passage by the Board of Aldermen. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have a presentation regarding wastewater fees. Go
With us
ahead.
This evening, we have Frank Ayotte from Hazen and Sawyer, and I don't know if you're alone, Frank?
Yeah,
or-
actually, I am online,
Oh,
so is
there is
Olivia,
now,
so
okay.
there she is.
There she is.
So, as many of you recall, we started development of the rate model and had subsequent updates now. But when we first started the model, it was a situation where revenues weren't keeping up with costs, project cost regulations, and ever-increasing expenses. So we've gone through some of the larger rate increases for starters, and now we're going to see tonight's presentation. Where we hope to get is something more marginal in terms of future increases, at the same time having a fund balance now that can handle 25% of your capital expenses, up to 4 months of operating income, and 1 year of debt service. So a real success there. So, Olivia, go to the next slide for agenda. So just tonight's presentation, a little bit repetitive in some of the slides we've had from years past, but the model purpose and its function, the data sources that we've used to do this year's analysis and recommendation for the rates for the future, the projected wastewater expenses and capital projects that are all integrated into the rate model, and the end of what we're recommending for fiscal year 27 and 28. So with that, with me is Olivia August. She's our senior principal engineer of the firm, and Olivia did a lot of the model development and updating. So Olivia, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Just
Uh,
barely.
Yeah, I'm gonna need more
Okay.
volume.
It's
There
really-
we go.
It's really quiet. All right, let me
Better?
just make sure I have.
We
That's
can
better.
hear you now, Olivia.
Yeah, all set.
Okay, is it better? Okay, good. All right, well, good afternoon. So a bit of background on the financial model. The goal of this model was to inform, equitable, fiscally responsible, and defensible rates. And it was built using some historical usage and customer billing data, financial information, both historical as well as your planned capital improvements and future loans. So I'll talk a little bit more about those data sources, but just a little background there. And then just what is it? It is a model that is actually based on an Excel spreadsheet that compiles all of this historical and projected information and actually uses Power BI to develop visualizations and allow for different scenario development. So it is, as Frank said, updated yearly, and we'll be presenting the latest updates today. So for those data sources at a bit more of a granular scale, we have customer billing data for the full fiscal year of 2024, understanding both your usage as well as billing to help inform revenue projections moving forward with any sort of rate increase. We have your fiscal year 2024 actuals for both revenue and expenses. That was an input, as well as your 2025 budgeted expenses for next year. As part of the ordinance, there's been both previous and planned sewer rate increases. One occurred last April, one this January, and then another for fiscal year 2026 next January. We have included your 5-year capital requests as upcoming expenses that will be needed to be funded, and we'll show those as well. Your latest debt service, so any sort of loans that are currently paying for capital expenditures. And then kind of the most recent update on your fund balance as well was an input. Any questions on what the model is or what the data sources were? I get into the results. All right. So as I said, we took all the that data and compiled it to first look at what your projected expenses are looking like. So this is for your fiscal year 2024 through 2028, looking at those projected expenses based on capital plans, ongoing expenses, escalation. And what you can see is that it's projected currently about an 8% increase in expenses per year. So that's an important factor we considered when developing these recommendations, making sure that your revenue or rate increases can comfortably cover the projected expenses in the future. And so the different colors here, they're just going to be a combination of what is your operating expenses, what's your capital expenses, as well as your debt service or loans. And so what are those projected expenses? This is not an exhaustive list by any means, but what some of those are ongoing and planned capital projects. A large one is that the phase 1 wastewater treatment plant upgrades, which includes kind of several subcomponents to that. There are consent decree operational expenditures, which are ongoing, inflow and infiltration efforts, as well as annual stormwater management and abatement, the Merrimack River levee rehabilitation efforts, combined sewer overflow flooding, fire alarm system upgrades, gate and valve replacements, as well as dry well upgrades. Like I said, there are many more things, but just to cover a few of what these expenses include. So looking at both your historic and what we're recommending as rate increases, as you can see, there was no rate increase in 2023, and there was a bit of a catch-up period that of 2024, a larger rate increase of 15%, and then 10% in January of this year and 10% for next year to catch up and make sure that revenue increases are matching. As you can see, expenses continue to increase, so we need to make sure that rates do so as well. But as Frank discussed earlier, we're at a point now where the proposed rates can no longer be in a catch-up mode, but more of a sustainability, where we're proposing for 2027 and 2028 to drop down significantly, and we're recommending a 6% increase each year for the rates. So you can see those recommended, they'd be kind of the January 1st, which has been the most recent increase, and the planned future as well. So I know sometimes it's hard to interpret what 6% might mean or how that would impact the residents. And so a way we like to visualize that is looking at what an average residential monthly bill might be. And looking not only for Nashua, but as other utilities in surrounding areas, and being able to compare rates across the board. So what you're seeing here is the fiscal year 2024 rate for Nashua, as well as some of your surrounding municipalities like Portsmouth, Keene, Concord, Derry, Manchester, and Salem. So you can see Nashua's 2024 rates kind of falls right in the middle of some of the other utilities that we included in this benchmarking. And what some of those rate increases look like, so for 2027, it would be about a $2.60 increase in your monthly residential bill, from that $43.15 to $45.74, and then another similar $2 and change increase for 2028 in terms of a residential monthly bill. So what would that look like for your average resident change in their sewer bill? We also wanted to note that when comparing these rates, it was important to acknowledge that Manchester nearby has improved a 19% increase annual, so 3 years in a row, between 2025 and 2028. And then I believe in 2028, they'll also be, or 2029, they'll be doing a 15%. So very significant impact to their sewer bill and to their customers. And one way to understand that is that by 2028, their average residential monthly bill, which is currently just a couple dollars less than Nashua's, will be much higher is projected to be around $65.34, where Nashva's is projected to be only $48.48. So the goal of these studies and projecting your rate increases is to avoid having to do significant year-over-year increases like that. And I do want to note that another important consideration is affordability in this. We want to make sure that these rates are affordable to ratepayers. And so we use the EPA's affordability threshold of making sure that rates stay less than 2% of your median or lowest quintile income users. And we made sure that even with these projected increases, they're expected to stay well below that 2%. So another important factor when setting rates is this fund balance. And as Frank talked about earlier, having a healthy fund balance is really important for those unexpected occurrences and making sure that you have a healthy reserve. So how we make sure that the fund balance is sufficient is we make sure it incorporates three things. 33% or about 4 months of your annual operating expenses, 25% of your planned capital expenses, and then a full year of debt service. So worst came to worst, you're not getting any revenue for some reason, you still have this pretty significant reserve to pull from, or if a large project comes up, this is what it's designed for. So you can see that the green bars are those three components which increase year to year as your expenditures increase. And that red line above it is actually what we're projecting the fund balance to be. So well above kind of that minimum requirement. And we want it to grow over time as your requirements for a fund balance grow as well. So we're projecting with this rate increase, we'll be well above that goal and be able to maintain that moving forward. And lastly, a basic and important piece is making sure that our revenue is outpacing our expenses so that we can build those reserves. And we're not dipping into reserves to fund just regular operating projects and expenses. So what we use is net revenue, which is just your revenue minus expenses, and making sure that's positive is a huge factor. So what you're seeing here is your total revenue in navy. That like light blue is your net operating income. So that's just your revenue minus operating income. But that yellow is really what I want you to focus on, and that is your revenue minus all expenses. So loans, capital, operating, all inclusive. And making sure that's positive means that you're not dipping into those reserves. So when setting recommendations for fiscal year 2077 and 2028, we're monitoring that very closely. And right now, our projections are showing that through 2030, that net revenue should stay positive. And that is all we had. If there's any thoughts, comments, or questions, please let Frank and myself know.
Anyone? Alderman Dowd.
Is this presentation going to be part of the minutes?
Yes, it absolutely will be. And another thing that I should mention is this presentation will also be before the Board of Aldermen in February. So.
All right, well, thank you very much. Commissioner Spitia.
Oh, I'll say, first of all, thank you for the wonderful presentation. And I think 6%, seems logical, a decrease in the price increase. And I appreciate all the sources that y'all, use to come up with that. I'm just curious, why are they getting such a huge increase at that 19%?
I can answer a little bit of that. I know they're in the middle of designing a big CSO tunnel.
Okay.
And I know that's a huge capital expense. But I know that was a big part of the large increase. A combined sewer overflow tunnel for storage of their, even though they've separated, they still have those issues.
I mean, it is nice to see that we're within the ballpark of where all the other municipalities are. yeah, I am surprised by some of the other ones, like Portsmouth. I was not expecting to see that, but I know also a lot more aging infrastructure there as well, since it's an older city. But you know, it's good to see that we're within range of other localities.
Commissioner Shea.
The levy, and I think we've discussed this before, but if you could remind me, Director, the levy, is that ours? Is it the Army Corps of Engineers? Like, how does that work? And is there some responsibility share for the maintenance?
There is, and I'm gonna let Engineer Hudson speak to that, but that's, it's a little bit of both.
Excellent question. So the levee was constructed by Army Corps way back when, but now it's ours, and we have to upkeep it and do those sorts of things. So we haven't yet run into a project where it was a large project where maybe we'd be seeking some contribution, but no, it is ours and our responsibility to maintain in accordance with their regulations.
Thank you. And a question on a different topic. Is our goal ultimately to get this to a place where it's sustainable and we can kind of peg increases to inflation and the value of the dollar?
One would hope, but I doubt that, only because regulations are ever changing. So it really depends on the EPA. Like, we just received a new permit. For instance, we don't really understand the full impact of that permit yet. So it really depends on, we have seen regulations increasing every year.
Like the CSO facilities are a
So-
big part of that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I mean, there could be other things that come down the pike. So far, we've avoided having to do any separation or significant separation. We've done a little bit, but we don't know what the future could bring. So I think we're at that point now, though, where we're more at a cost of living increase with a 6%. Very happy with those rate increases. They're pretty low. And the city has done a lot of CSO work over the years, so I think that puts us in a better position. But I do anticipate that we have some more work to do. I'm just not sure exactly what that will be, so.
Thank you.
But we'll continue to give you updates every year.
Appreciate
All right, well, thank you very much.
You're
All right. Now we're on to the wastewater department. Item A, Commissioner Lemon.
I move to approve the user warrants as presented.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item B, Commissioner Espitia.
I move to approve the contract with Vertex Engineering from Weymouth, Massachusetts in an amount not to exceed $49,400 for construction administration phase services of the fire alarm upgrades project. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, Wastewater Activity, Fire Alarm Upgrades.
Mr. Boucher?
Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. This is to utilize Vertex Engineering to do the construction management oversight. This would include administration phase services of the fire alarm upgrade. This includes submittals, review, invoices, change orders. It also is for them to provide a good O&M manual and final as-built drawings at the end of the project. Vertex is the company that did the design and bid oversight for the project, so we'd like to continue to use them for this. Be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item C, Commissioner Shea.
I motion to approve the contract with Wright Pierce of Thompson, Maine to provide final design plans, specifications, and bidding services for the Phase 1 upgrades project in an amount not to exceed $850,550. Funding for this contract will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, Wastewater Activity, Wastewater Plant Phase 1 upgrades.
Thank you, Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. The Phase 1 project is Phase 1 of our 20-year plan of doing renovations and repairs throughout the facility and some upgrades. Some of the renovations as part of Phase 1 include our chlorine bulk storage area, increasing the amount of chlorine we can hold at any given time. Surface repairs to our several tanks throughout the facility. Renovations to our pump building. It's a 3-story pump building. Also replacement of large pumps, valves, and underground flow meters. Replacement of 8 large process gates throughout the facility. Wright Pierce was the engineering firm that did the preliminary design. We'd like to continue to use them to do the final design and bid oversight. That's what this motion's for. Be happy to answer any questions.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion passes. Next, item D, Commissioner Lennon.
I move to approve the contract with Wright Pierce of Thompson, Maine to provide, in an amount not to exceed $27,200 for residential construction services for the fire alarm upgrades project. Funding will be through Department 169, wastewater fund, wastewater activity, fire alarm upgrades.
Thank you. Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. This is also for the fire alarm upgrade. This is specifically for the inspections of the construction services, also for resident construction oversight at the wastewater facility during the fire alarm upgrade. They're going to be working closely with Vertex. Vertex is a company, they're based out of Florida, the fire alarm division. So they'd have to send people up to do this work, but it made more sense to have Wright Pierce, who also has expertise in this area. And they've also worked with Vertex in the past, so it made more fiscal sense to use Wright Pierce, and Wright Pierce also has a working knowledge of all of our buildings at the facility, so they would be doing that work as part of this project. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're now on to the Parks Department. First, item A, Commissioner Spitia.
Move to approve the 3-year subscription of a 2025 turf tank for the price of $15,996 per year. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks, Fund General Account Classification 71 Equipment.
Good evening, everyone. Superintendent Brian Conant of the Parks Department. This is for an autonomous painting machine that is used to line sports fields. I'm very excited about the addition of this to our department. Currently, right now, the process that is undertaken to line these fields is very labor-intensive and cumbersome. This is going to free up a lot of labor during a busy time of year. Currently, right now, there are 21 schools and municipalities in New Hampshire that use this, 63 in Mass. I think this is a tried and true autonomous lining machine. It's been on the market for a while, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Anyone? Commissioner Shea.
How long does it take to line a field, and is that different from a person going out there and doing it?
It depends. I mean, currently right now, on any given soccer field, if we could paint an 11v11, which is a full-size soccer field, we can then get a 9v9 on it, 2 9v9s, excuse me. And some of these soccer fields, we're painting up to 3 different soccer fields within on one field. So it takes a vast amount of time. Usually when we're starting this up in the spring, it takes us a good month to get all the fields lined. You're pulling string. Like I said, it's a very cumbersome process.
And so this would, just a follow-up, and so this would reduce the staff time. I assume somebody has to be there to monitor it?
So somebody does have to be there to monitor the computer, or monitor the machine. So it's not like it goes out by itself, but you come in, this machine gets set up, it's all GPS coordinates, and it's not completely self-sufficient, but pretty close.
Does that person need a foreman, or it's, somebody goes out with the machine, it's one person? and-
Currently, right now, the department's made up of groundsman 1, groundskeeper maintenance individuals, the Stellos attendant, the Holman Stadium lead groundsman. I will be keeping this with a groundskeeper maintenance. I think that's adequate.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
We now have an informational item only, Roby Park ice rink. Any questions on this? To speak to this, or?
Sure, I can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, is that okay? All right, so over the past several winters, we've had some incidences down at Roby Park. I believe last year there was a woman who was hit in the head with a hockey stick. This year we had a 6-year-old hit in the head with a hockey puck. With that, we decided that we would put up no hockey signs down at Roby Park. We have a hockey-only sign at Labine, which is skatable. And we did this out of precautions. It's very hard for us to be able to patrol the activity down there. And we thought this was the best case solution and the solution that kept everyone in the general public safe. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on this if there are any.
We've had very good feedback too from residents regarding this. They very much appreciate it. We were having a tough time. We just couldn't, hockey was supposed to be played after 8 p.m. and they were playing at all different times, and there were young kids skating trying to skate at the same time. It was just creating such a dangerous situation. So, but folks have been very receptive, and I think it's working well. So
Yeah.
now the hockey players have their rink, and then
It has been helpful to have the colder weather and to be able to get the ice rink up across from Janot's at Four Corners and at Labine, right next to Fairgrounds Middle School. So it's been very helpful.
It's been very good to see the positive feedback on this, because I wasn't sure if there was going to be a grumbling, and it doesn't seem like there was too much of it. And the department has been very responsive on social media with regard to comments about, is it Four Corners, the right up by Centennial Pool? Or is that,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're correct.
that's the one.
the department responding to people on that with a commitment to keep that in service and ensure that there is opportunities for hockey in the state, like outside hockey in the city still. So I appreciate seeing that. So thank you. Yep.
One of the things that I think that we would recommend, though, is to have another chiller. We only have a chiller at Roby right now, so it would be helpful to have a chiller at Labine so that we can, this has been a cold,
Very cold
we've had
winter.
a cold spell, so we've been able to maintain the ice, but if it warms up, we're gonna lose the ice at Labine, so it would be great to have a chiller there so that we could maintain that longer.
You are correct.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. So if that comes before us, I speak for myself, but I'd be supportive of that. I think hockey, especially in this area, we got a lot of crosstalk between Canada. It's a part of a lot of people's lives, and I think it's an area of recreation worth investing in, so.
Agree.
Yeah.
I think, to follow up,
Commissioner Spiti.
I think it makes sense if we have two separate, skating rinks that they both get, one has a chiller, the other one should also have a chiller. So that way, if we have been lucky, it has been cold, but if it warms up and one were to melt, like it would be, I think people would feel like, oh, well, we don't get one now. So I think it's good that we have it separated out just for people's safety as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think it'd be interesting to have I think I'd be very interested in seeing a chiller in both skating rinks.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now the Fleet Department, item A, Commissioner Shea.
I motion to approve the purchase of one 2025 Ford F-550 regular cab four-wheel drive pickup truck from Grapponi Ford for the price of $58,877. Pricing for this purchase will be off of the State of New Hampshire state bid contract. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks, Fund, Trust, Activity, Capital Equipment Reserve Fund.
Good afternoon,
Rush.
Mike Rush, Fleet Superintendent. This is a scheduled surf purchase, and this is going to be replacing a current Ford F-350 package. It's a slight upgrade going from the F-350 to the F-550. This is mostly due to, we're going to add a sander to this asset, so we can use it as a frontline snow fighter. And we're also looking to add an additional landscape trailer, so it will be better for towing. So the truck is a little bit more robust than the one that it's replacing. Happy to answer any questions you have on this scheduled purchase.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Actually,
Oops, sorry.
I have a quick
Commissioner,
question.
speak to you.
And it kind of relates to this, but also just for the larger, I think just going above, how's the weather and the impact of the snow been on the fleet so far?
This year, it hasn't been too bad. The salt obviously is still an issue, getting the assets cleaned up after the storm. But in the Parks Department specifically, we've taken four trucks out of service this year, a little bit more than we usually do. So that department is a little behind as far as trucks, and those were just not fiscally responsible to keep on the road anymore. So part of these assets that we're going for now is to replace some of those assets.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion passes. Next, item B, Commissioner Lemon.
I move to approve the purchase of one F-550 flatbed dump body and snowplow package from Viking Civis of Williston, Vermont, for the total purchase price of $72,700. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks, Fund, Trust, Activity, Surf.
Michael Rush, Fleet Superintendent. So this upfit package is for the chassis from Motion A. It's done through a separate contractor, and that's just to upfit the flatbed body to the chassis with the snowplow package. I'm happy to answer any questions you have for that.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication, or item C, excuse me, Commissioner Spetia.
I move to approve the purchase of 4 2025 Freightliner cabin chassis with body and snow fighter package from Viking Civis of Williston, Vermont, in the amount of $291,413 each through Sourcewell contract pricing. Funding will be through Department 161 Street Fund, Trust, Activity, Surf.
Michael Rush, Fleet Superintendent. These purchases are for the street department to replace frontline snow fighter equipment. In the off-season of the winter, they're also used to maintain our infrastructure throughout the city with all the projects that we have. These assets are on the schedule for replacement, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about that.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item D, Commissioner Shea.
To approve the purchase of one 2025 Freightliner cab and chassis with body and snow fighter package from Viking Civs of Williston, Vermont, in the amount of $264,619 through Sourcewell. Contract pricing. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks, Fund, Trust, Activity, Capital Equipment Reserve Fund.
Michael Rush, Fleet Superintendent. This scheduled surf purchase is for the Parks Department for a 6-wheeled dump truck snowplow fighter. It will be replacing an older unit that will be moved to the back line. It's also used for tree work and other infrastructure in the parks around the city. And happy to answer any questions you have on that.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item E, Commissioner Lemon.
I move to approve the purchase of one 2025 Ford F-550 Crew Cab 4-wheel drive pickup truck from Grapponi Ford for the price of $61,899. $870 each. Pricing for this purchase will be off the New Hampshire state bid contract. Funding will be through Department 177 Park Fund Trust Activity SURF.
Michael Rush, Fleet Superintendent. This scheduled SURF purchase for the Parks Department is a like-for-like purchase for the F-550 that it will be replacing. This is for the chassis only. There will be an upfit package added to this as well. Happy to answer any questions you have on this.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item F, Commissioner Spezia.
I move to approve the purchase of one F-550 upfit service body and snowplow package from Viking Civis of Williston, Vermont for the total purchase price of $32,200. Funding will be through Department 177 Park Fund Trust Activity SURF.
Michael Rush, Fleet Superintendent. So this is the upfit package for Motion E. It is a like-for-like purchase. It is replacing a service body on the current unit. It does have snowplow capabilities, but no sander. It's mostly used for park maintenance, like irrigation and other park projects to keep equipment on the truck, shovels, rakes, leaf blowers, things of that nature. It is a scheduled SURF purchase. Happy to answer any questions you have on this.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So now we have the Solid Waste Department. And we have, of course, item A, Commissioner Shea.
I motion to approve the purchase of recycling and trash carts and cart lids for curbside collection for fiscal year '25 in the amount not to exceed $145,000 from Toter Inc. of Statesville, North Carolina. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund Solid Waste Account Classification 71 Equipment.
Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent Solid Waste. So this is my annual appropriation that I ask for every year for the toters and for lids and stuff. These toters are now 22 years old, which have well exceeded our expectation. So I always try to keep at least 1,000 to 1,500 in stock in case we have a major blowout curbside where all of a sudden they all start breaking on us. And it's also to help us buy a bunch of lids. A lot of lids now are breaking after 22 years, so I keep the stock up.
Anyone? Commissioner Shea.
I think this is the same amount as last year, is that right?
Yes, sir. I appropriate the same amount every year. I don't spend it
Yeah.
every year, but I just keep it there just in case I have to order 4 or 5 truckloads of them.
How'd we do last year?
Last year, I think I only bought 1 or 2 truckloads, so that would have been about $100,000. So
Good.
it's an adequate amount for me to get by right now. If I see it, if there's an explosion, I'll have to ask for more next year, but right now I've been holding steady every year.
And this is kind of adjacent to the subject, but while I'm thinking of it, I had a constituent reach out to inquire about why we do recycling every other week versus every week. I know we've gone through this before. I want to say that we did a cost analysis at some point, maybe 2.5 years ago, to evaluate. Do I recall correctly, or?
Yes, we did, yeah.
Yep.
It was quite a while ago, I think, but,
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
we
like at
did,
the
yeah.
beginning of
Yeah.
my term.
Yeah.
And so that, for me, like, we still produce enough recycling that would be warranted. I do my best to get down and put the boxes in there, but there's a lot of recycling still. Like, I'll go down maybe once a month with a truckload of boxes. And for me, there's still stuff that goes in the trash, goes in the landfill, shouldn't be there, doesn't have to be there. So I wonder if it might be a good time to reevaluate that. Again, it's not specifically germane to this, but while we're kind of
Sure.
on the topic.
Sure. As the director said that we did evaluate it a few years ago, I assume you're talking about trying to do recycling weekly.
Yeah.
And possibly supplying the big toters to everyone.
Yep.
And when we did that, we came out to almost $2.5 million to do that. So that's a big endeavor to
to reach out for. And that didn't include that if I did it weekly, I'd have to have some more employees on hand and more trucks, just for the size of the city to do it. Right now, I'm doing it bi-weekly, which is only half the city. So I would have to double my recycling operators to do the job.
When we did the cost analysis, did we do a projection on the value of airspace? And that's what we call it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Projection of the value of airspace and like it would be so hard to estimate how much stuff goes into the landfill that doesn't have to be there. I don't know that was part of the analysis at the time, and I just wonder what the trade-off could. I know we can't calculate it exactly, but I think that's an important consideration.
Absolutely. The national studies, they're trying to get us to 25 to 28%, recovery from trash. We're fairly close to that with the way we've been doing things. So, to get more out of the residents could be difficult, other than mandating it, and that's something that turns into a nightmare for everyone.
Yep. But I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up where someone brought it to me, so.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Quick question.
Commissioner Spitio?
And if somebody, we had like a bunch of wind recently, which was fun because then we had toters all over the street. But if say someone were to get damaged, they would just reach out to solid waste and just get a replacement, or and whether they have to pay or not.
Yes, sir. They would reach out to the solid waste department. We'd put it on a work order, and if it was either repairable, we would repair it, and if it's not, then we replace it. That's for the trash toters.
Mhm.
The recycling toters are the responsibility of the resident.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next, we have the engineering department. Item A, Commissioner Lynn.
I move to approve the sewer service permits and fees as submitted.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes. Item B, Commissioner Spitio.
Move to approve the poll license petition as listed in the staff report.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion passes. Item C, Commissioner Shea.
I move to approve change order number 6 to Continental Paving Incorporated of Londonderry, New Hampshire, in an amount not to exceed $1,900,000, funding through.
Oh, we're on item C?
Yep. Funding through Departments 160, Admin, Engineering, and Wastewater, Fund, Bond, Activities, Paving, Sewer Infrastructure Improvements, and Stormwater.
Again, good afternoon, Dan Hudson, City Engineer. So we're ready to embark on paving program for next season. We are proposing to change order both paving contracts from last year. This item here is for Continental Paving, the next one's for Sunshine Paving. They've both performed well. They've both have agreed to hold pricing within 10% of their 2023 bid, so within the purchasing policy. So we feel this is good value and are recommending approval. So this Continental change order would include paving approximately 3.2 miles of arterial and collector roadways. Be happy to address any questions.
Alderman Dowd.
Yeah, just a question, when you're doing these paving plannings, do you coordinate now with the school department on, we had discussions about if we could coordinate the contracts for paving, it would save money for the city. So you reach out to Sean Smith and see if there are any, because there's some projects, I think, coming up that, I think one thing we talked about was National High North. I don't know if that street into the school is on your list, but the school would like to pay for the continuation of the paving down through the front of the school, because that is in terrible shape, so just look into it.
Yeah, no, the answer to that is yes. Deputy City Engineer Saunders has had discussions with Sean and others. We've coordinated on striping and paving. Periodically, we provide some guidance and support to other departments as well, like parking and, because we have other parking lots paved. So yeah, we're happy to do that coordination. Of course, that work will be done under separate contracting, but wherever it is possible, we certainly want to coordinate work and have efficiencies of scale.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Item D, Commissioner Lemon.
I move to approve change order number 5 to Sunshine Paving Corporation of Hudson, New Hampshire in an amount not to exceed $4,800,000. Funding through Departments 160, Admin, Engineering, and Wastewater, Funds, Bonds, Trust, and Wastewater Activities, Paving, Sewer Infrastructure Improvements, Stormwater, and Paving Trust Fund.
So this is the second of the two contracts I mentioned. This would be approximately 10.8 miles of residential roadways. Again, the contractor here agreeing to hold within 10% of their pricing from 2023. Be happy to address any questions.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item E, Commissioner Espitia.
To approve the engineering services amendment for Hayner Swanson Incorporated of Nashua, New Hampshire, in the amount of $300,000 for the management and construction administration of the paving program. Funding through Departments 160 Admin, Engineering, Funds, Bond, Activities, Paving.
So this is, as it's noted, engineering services to help support the department with administration of those previous two contracts noted. Hayner Swanson's been doing this for a number of years, has familiarity with our needs, and works as an extension of our staff. So we're looking to continue that relationship for this season.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item F, Commissioner Shea.
I move to approve the award, I move to approve the award for the construction contract for the 2025 sewer replacement project to Crisp Contracting of New Hampshire in the amount of $810,830. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund Bond Activity Sewer Infrastructure Improvements.
So this is a project we bid out. It includes miscellaneous sewer work around the city, new manholes, raising manholes. We can use this to replace some pipe sections too if we run into problems. This was bid out. Crisp Contracting of Nashua was the low bidder, and we recommend award to them. Be happy to address any questions.
Anyone? Commissioner Shea.
I've brought this up a couple times, and I forget the answer. So on the topic of sewer replacement, over by Clock Tower Place at Water Street, there's that grate, and the gases that come out of it are so strong that when you drive by it with the windows closed, you can still smell sewer gases. Is that on our list? Is that something that we have on a long-term plan to address? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to it. Of course, many are aware we have a combined sewer system, so stormwater and sewer go down the same pipe in a lot of locations in the city. Certain times of year we get odors. That location, there's a high sewer flow through that system right there, so that's a very challenging one. There's also a large drop in elevation. It drops from up high on Factory Street to down low below the bridge on Water Street. So there's a number of factors there. Other locations around the city we are working to provide hoods and other mechanisms to help control the odors. That one there is challenging. We probably need more of a gasketed cover, that sort of thing. So that is something that we can look into. But as I noted, it's a deep pipes there, and it's a little bit challenging to do much there. So we can look at covers or vents or some other mechanism to try to control.
If there's anything to mitigate, especially where we're investing so much in the riverfront and
Right.
bringing folks down, it would be ideal. And some spots it might be sometimes a year. I think for that particular one, it's most times a year.
Yeah, I am also very familiar with that one. Yeah, I've walked through there a number of times, and I know what you're talking about. So yeah, that's good feedback, and
Yeah,
we'll look into what can be done there.
That'd be appreciated.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication, the next item is item G, Commissioner Lemon.
I move to approve amendment number 3 to the engineering services agreement for the Walnut Street Oval intersection project with Hoyle Tanner and Associates Incorporated of Manchester, New Hampshire, in an amount not to exceed $382,672. Funding will be through Departments 160 Admin Engineering Funds, Bond and Grant Activity, Walnut Street Oval.
So we've engaged Hoyle Tanner and Associates out of Manchester, New Hampshire, to help us with study and design of the Walnut Oval project. We've held a number of public meetings. We've selected preferred alternative. We had contracted them for engineering study phase, basically to come up with what the thing is that we want to move forward. Now that that's defined, they're able to better define the engineering aspect. So this extends the contract for preliminary design. And then at some point in the future, we'd be back for a final design amendment to complete the project. But I'd be happy to address any questions. As this is another one that has federal share, so same commentary, I guess, as the previous one. This amendment here falls within an agreement that we've already executed with them. At some point, that'll need to be increased when we get to construction. But right now, this falls within funding and agreements that we previously executed with DOT. Be happy to address any questions.
And when do you think we will start spending money on this, and how long do you think it'll take?
Good question. We need to get through a design process. We expect to do that sometime this year, probably full-on construction next year. We do have a portion of the funding that's congressionally directed spending that we're trying to expedite spending because that has a deadline of this September. This engineering actually will be funded through that money, so that helps draw down that congressionally
And how much
directed
is the
spending portion.
congressionally designated spending?
It was $1 million of federal share, so that's the money we want to spend first.
We haven't received that yet.
We have a promise for it, but we have to go through the process of accepting and appropriating it. So we have a draft amended agreement with DOT to accept that portion and add it to the project. So that's will be coming soon, but yeah, again, we're in the design process. We're trying to expedite it to the extent possible within the framework of federal projects and permitting associated.
Anyone else? Commissioner Shea.
I just want to reiterate how ridiculous it is that we're having conversations about these projects and whether or not we can do them and whether or not we can afford to pick up the tab if the federal government, which we all pay taxes to, decides to not, you know? And I'm sorry for raising my voice, it's not appropriate. But it's upsetting, because we're here for a reason. And it's upsetting. I'll leave it at that and just put it out there. Thank you.
And this, we have a signed contract with DOT, with state DOT on this?
Yeah, whenever we start in a project, we have to enter in a municipal agreement, they call it, with the state. And so we have one for this project. It's currently at $2.5 million roundabout. That federal share would add in another $1 million. Actually, a little bit more than $1 million, bringing it up to like 3.9 or so. Our current projection is the project may even cost more than that, though. So, like, at some point, we'll probably be seeking additional federal share beyond what we currently have anticipated. And, you know, begs the question: will the federal government be ready to step up to the 80% share for that? So, we have a ways to go still. We're still at a very preliminary level. what we need to do is progress this design to kind of firm up estimates and costs and things to be in a better position to understand what we need to do to finish the project. But this contract here, or amendment here, will help us do that.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Motion passes. Item H is an informational item. Does anybody have any questions or comments about that? Commissioner Spezia.
When do you expect to start 2025 paving? Obviously in the spring, but, do you have a roundabout?
Don't have necessarily a specific date. I think last year we started early April. It really depends on weather. Typically, there's always a little bit of carryover work from previous years, so we usually push them, try to get that wrapped up before we start the next year's program. So anticipate that'll be the same this year. But yeah, we anticipate being in construction April, May timeframe.
All right, and then, and that, of course, is the paving program, the list of streets and roadways for the 2025 paving. Item I is also an informational item. Any questions there? It's just the street opening permits. If not, we'll go
Thank you.
on to the administration department. And we have item A, Commissioner Spezia.
Move to approve the CBA for UAW Clerical Technical and UAW Professional for fiscal year 2024-2028.
Do you wanna-
I can address this. There are actually two bargaining units, the clerical technical unit and the professional unit. The collective bargaining agreements for each of the two units are typically negotiated together and are virtually identical, except for the list of positions covered in each one. They're both represented by the same union, the United Auto Workers and a bunch of other agricultural workers and aerospace and so forth. You have some employees in these bargaining units, as does the fire department, as does a lot of the various departments in City Hall. So it is for you to approve the contracts as well, since it covers some of your employees. I was involved in the negotiations, as was your Director Photo and Administrative Services Director Cummings. Salient points of the change in these from the previous contracts: no additional paid time off. There's a little change in your foreman when they get time and a half during snow events. That matches up with your employees, your regular employees in the AFSCME bargaining unit. So that just puts the foreman basically in the same position that the people they're supervising are. The general wage increases during the 5 years of the contract are 3.75 in the first year, 3.5% in the second and third year, and 2% in the fourth year and fifth year. So between the three of us, I think we can answer your questions if there are any.
Anybody? Any questions? Commissioner Shea.
So the department and the union went through this and came to terms, and we're kind of giving it the thumbs up.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
okay.
I was like, we're not sitting at the negotiation
Hopefully.
table. Appreciate you coming to negotiations and coming up with a good contract
Yeah.
that works for you also. It's
Yes.
good.
All right, anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item is B, Commissioner Shea.
To approve this, I move to approve the sidebar to the collective bargaining unit between the Board of Public Works of the City of Nashua, New Hampshire, and Local 365 AFSCME regarding the 2 current electrical diagnostic technicians in the wastewater department.
So I can speak to this, and I apologize, I thought this one in the packet, but I just realized that you don't have a copy of this. It's fairly simple. We have 2 electricians who work at the wastewater treatment plant. Very difficult to find electricians, very difficult. And they are both awesome employees and do a great job. Another thing that I learned along the way is that being a master electrician does not necessarily make you qualified to work on the type of pumps and things that we have at the wastewater treatment plant. So having 2 right now that have the skill set they have is very, very valuable. One of the employees was considering retiring, and he said that he would stay if he could work 3 12-hour days and then 1 4-hour day, and then the other electrician would like 4 10-hour days. And we are amenable to that. We're thrilled to be able to keep them. The bargaining unit has agreed to it. The only thing that's a little bit different is that they will have a lump of vacation time, and they can choose to use it as legal actually helped us come up with this idea, just because it got a little bit complicated in case a holiday fell on a Monday and that wasn't a day they worked or whatever. So this is something that the legal department drafted and was instrumental in helping us put together. And as I mentioned, the bargaining unit is in agreement. So it really is just a change of hours for the electricians to keep them employed, so.
All right,
And
Commissioner Shea.
do they have like floating holidays? Was that the arrangement, basically?
So they're getting, what legal determined was how many hours of vacation time they get as bargaining unit members, because they're still working 40 hours. And they're giving them that lump of time to use as they desire.
Yeah, so more or less. Yeah.
Yes, so they would
That's
get the
great.
same holidays, correct.
Good, thank you.
So-
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So now we have the director's report.
I'll go through this really quick. This is just a picture of the Riverfront Park. This is a new retaining wall and granite seating in Renaissance Park. And we are now shut down due to the weather, but that's coming along nicely. Summer fun planning has begun for this summer. Our DPW day is June 7th from 10 to 1 at Greeley Park. And we'll be putting out our camps for our younger residents very soon. So it's very exciting. Our next scheduled trip will be to the Boston Red Sox on May 18th. Registration will open up at the beginning of February, and the cost will be $85 for the ticket and the bus trip. It's a pretty good deal. Registration will open on February 1st for our Babe Ruth softball and baseball program. Our softball program has been growing, and we are looking for coaches, so if anybody knows anyone that would be interested, we'd love to talk to them. This is, some of our street department crews are working on roadside cleanup throughout the city as weather allows. This is a crew repairing a damaged guardrail on Tinker Road. We repaired the sinking curb line at Nashua South. This is a damaged sidewalk that we repaired at New Searles. And the Fort Hills Landfill and Recycling Center will be closed on Monday, February 20th in observance of President's Day. So trash will be delayed all week by a day. But that's right, one more. Just a reminder, please don't put carts in the snowbank. We have this happen a lot. We can't pick up toters like this. We can't reach them. So they need to be cleared of any snow. And it's not on here, but I do want to remind people, please don't put ashes in your toters. That's something that we see a lot, and it creates fires in our garbage trucks, so please, and significant damage, so please don't do that. Even when you think that coals are no longer hot, they often are, so please do not put ashes in your toter. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Any comments or questions on the director's report? Commissioner Shea?
We got a constituent communication about snow clearing. It was a Saturday, and the question I have about this is, that was unexpected snow. You would look at the forecast on Friday, and it would suggest that we would have like an hour of flurries. And the weather was way different, because we've got this polar vortex, and it's all crazy and unpredictable. To what extent, and is there any area of opportunity for us to respond to kind of weather events that unfold 12 hours beforehand, and we're not on the models? Like, what do we do, and is there anything that we can do better to have the roads cleared when we have a not predicted snowfall?
Are you referring to one in particular? Because I'm not,
And I think
it's
there
not
was a
coming to
gentleman who
mind
was
that there
talking
was
about
one that-
school buses, and
On Tinker Road.
I can't remember his name, but
Oh.
we got multiple
Yeah.
communications, I think, from this person over a couple of weeks about snow clearing. And it was, I can't think of the date, I'd have to go digging, but regardless of the particular bit of feedback, how do we respond when the weather changes suddenly? Because we may see more of that, I don't know. Is there anything that we can shift, or I guess, I don't need an answer to this, if there isn't one, but if we could look to some kind of short order response to big weather changes, especially on weekends, because I assume we're staffed pretty well Monday through Friday, and if there's an event, we can go out and address it. On Saturday, Sunday, I imagine staffing's a lot different, and we're calling people in. So if we have a storm system that's coming up from Florida, and it's looking like it's going off into the ocean, and then, you know, Friday at 11 p.m., the direction of the prevailing winds completely changes, and all of a sudden, something that was supposed to go south of the Cape ends up in Nashua on a Saturday.
Mhm.
How do we respond to that?
We're rarely surprised.
Yeah.
We monitor so closely. Even when we think something is, may go south of us, we're still monitoring that very closely. We have a foreman on call, and that foreman is monitoring streets. We instruct them to. We're checking all the time. We're watching the radar. We watch there's probably 8 or 10 weather sources that we're watching all the time. So
And tied in with
we're rarely,
emergency
do
management.
things happen sometimes? Yes, but
Yeah.
we're rarely surprised because we're monitoring it so closely.
Okay.
And I can't think of a time when that has happened recently where something was unexpected that we weren't prepared for. So as we're in Matt, is Matt LeBlanc still here? Yeah, so he knows. There's a few of us, Matt, myself, Andy, and John, we're talking, throughout the night, throughout weekends, it doesn't matter when it is.
And you're
It's
tied
all
in-
hands on deck.
Tied in with emergency management on their models and all of that stuff? or-
Emergency management's not really all that involved for just regular snow. If there was an emergency event where there was significant power outages or something like that, they would. But snow's something we do pretty well, and we anticipate it pretty well. So I can't think of a time where we got caught off guard. Again, we do watch things and monitor things really closely. There's many of us that were up all, throughout the night texting and and watching things closely, so.
Okay.
Sometimes we watch the news at midnight.
So,
To
so
see
maybe
how
just
things-
I didn't
Yeah.
expect it, but when
Yeah.
when I saw that email come in, and I looked out my window and there's a couple inches of snow on the road, and the night before I was looking at the weather thinking,
Yeah.
you know, we're good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, did you have that experience in your perception of the weather in that particular day in the clearing, or?
Yeah, because it was Saturday, I think, I believe, and it was sort of, at least I wasn't ready for it. I know y'all, like,
Yeah.
you know, I think it was very quick that it really transpired into snow, and
Went from
so-
like a dusting
I
to
was-
like 3 inches.
Which it's kind of funny, yeah, because it's supposed to be like a dusting. It's kind of, because I remember I saw, I think, not on like Monday, because we had the snow on Tuesday, right?
Mhm.
And so on Monday, actually, I think I saw y'all, they had the pre-treated roads with the, was it, you were telling me about the like water there, like that y'all use now?
The brine.
The brine, yeah, and I think I saw the trails of the brine, and I was like, oh shoot, they're like using it already, so like, which was funny, because then I contrast that to like when you know you're gonna have snow versus what happened, I think, on Friday, which, like, I don't think anyone was ready for that much snow. But I appreciate, you know, I think, it actually goes off of my comments real quick. I appreciate y'all responding as quickly as you could to kind of, well, what I would consider unexpected, like, increase in snow.
So what we typically do is we'll call in trucks incrementally, so we'll call in 12 trucks to start, and then, which is pretty much the truck drivers at the street department. And they'll come in and we'll get them in the routes, salting if need be. And then as the storm progresses and we're watching, again, I joke that Andy Patrician's a meteorologist. He truly is. I think that could be his next job. But we're watching the radar, and we're watching it when, you know, how quickly it's gonna come in, and we're ready to get to calling in additional trucks or going to an all-call. So, there's a lot of effort that goes into snow, but we do monitor it very closely. And there is a foreman that is on call on the snowboard every single evening, so they're also helping to monitor the conditions, you know, real time in Nashua, so.
Good. Appreciate the insight, thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Lemon.
Lisa, on
Yes.
the presentation, President's Day is not the 20th, it's the 17th. You almost gave me
Oh.
a heart attack because the soup kitchen has
Oh,
a big
is
event
it
on
the wrong,
19th,
did we
and I
have
was
the wrong
like,
day
what?
on there?
Yeah.
I didn't even check that. Thank you for that clarification. We'll have to talk to solid waste about that. The day wrong.
Okay, anyone else? All right, we now have commissioners' comments. Any commissioners have comments?
Yeah, I mean,
Commissioner Spitia.
I just want to say, like, you know, I think y'all did a great work given everything that happened with how quickly things progressed on the snow front, and you know, I feel really good about our streets always looking good. I wish we could do a little bit more on like sidewalks, especially I know with Daniel Webster, highway being just, you know, it's tough out there. So I'd love to see if there was anything we could do around that. But overall, I feel, because I, you know, want to make sure pedestrians feel safe on the
Right.
roads,
Right.
especially really congested roads. And I obviously think that, you know, folks, owners should also clear their sidewalks. So I think I hope everyone does that. But I think, you know, because I know there's more snow coming next week, which is a good thing for a lot of folks, especially the folks up north for skiing. But I think, you know, I want to make sure that y'all continue to do the great job y'all do on the roads, and let's hope that we can do some of that work on the sidewalks as well.
I'm having a lot of fun watching the people at Four Corners, because I have a good friend who lives across the street from that rink. And I want to say, I think it is a really excellent place for people to play hockey, because even if they flip the puck out, it has a lot farther to go to hit somebody. Like,
Yeah.
I watched them spinning the pucks out of control on, I don't remember, I think it was Sunday morning, and they never, ever came close to the sidewalk, you know, because there's a little berm of snow around the rink. And I think that works really well. But also, I have seen people out there really early in the morning clearing it, so clearly the residents are loving it. There was
Great.
somebody out at 6 a.m. not very long ago, clearing to prepare for little kids to skate, and they were also very civilized. It was wonderful to watch that little kids skated first, then the hockey players took over for a while, and then, so,
They seem to work well together at Four Corners, the hockey players and the skaters, so
yeah,
we've left it alone.
yeah,
So we're allowing both there, but for now, so hopefully that continues.
yeah.
I have a ridiculous thing to say.
All right, go ahead. Say the ridiculous.
Have we ever looked at getting a Zamboni on the canal for fun?
That does sound like fun.
It sounds awesome.
The problem is we never know if the ice is safe or not. Because there are some areas that's safe, there's some areas that it's not safe, and we just haven't had thick enough ice to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we have looked at that, because that would be super
That would
fun.
be wicked.
Yeah, because whenever we go walk out there in the winter, especially like around New Year's, we make a point to get out there, and just walking by the canal and seeing the ice, it's like, that would be pretty special.
It would.
If we had that for Nashua. Anyway, I just wanted to get that idea out of my
We
head.
actually, and this is a few years back, we had some conversations with fire about the safety of that ice, and could we open it up to residents, and nobody felt comfortable, just because with the fluctuation of temperatures, because one day it could be safe, and then the next day it could be unsafe, so
Yeah.
that's the problem with it,
Especially where it's so
unfortunately.
shallow, I'm sure that's a factor.
Yeah.
I'm not an ice expert,
But
but
it would be fun.
Yeah,
thank you, appreciate it for indulging me.
All right. Personnel. Item A, Commissioner Lennon.
I move to approve and unseal the non-public minutes for personnel from the Board of Public Works meeting of December 19th, 2024.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item B, Commissioner Stevie.
I move to accept the resignation of Tyler Auclair.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion passes. Item C, Commissioner Shea.
I move to accept the resignation of Adam Nadeau.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And now I will turn to Commissioner Shea for the non-public session.
I move by roll call that the board go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-A 3-2B, the hiring of any person as a public employee.
Okay. Would you please call the roll?
Do we have a grievance today?
We do.
I don't know, they were supposed to be here.
Okay,
And they're not here.
I feel like when we do, we have to specify that in this motion. I could be wrong. I feel like that was a thing once. But anyway, if we do not have someone here to discuss it, then it's a moot point.
Do we still want to go into non-public and discuss?
If we're going to
We don't.
discuss it,
We don't.
We don't have any hiring.
Oh, okay.
No, we're gonna table that
Well,
until
if there's
next.
no one here, how can we do it? An appeal?
I take it back.
All right, so the motion to.
Well, we could discuss it if you wanted to, but, or do
I
we
would-
want?
Yeah, I
No?
would hope that the Board of Public Works would deny the grievance on the papers, even though they're not present to discuss it.
All right, and you think that needs to be done in non-public or public?
Depends if you're going to ask any questions. If you don't have any questions,
I've got questions.
All right, so
Yeah,
let's
we have to
with
go into
non-public.
non-public.
All right, so the motion has been made for roll call vote on going into non-public
for discipline.
for disciplinary purposes. In this case, please call the roll.
Commissioner Shea?
Yes.
Commissioner Lemon?
Yes.
Commissioner Spedia,
Yes.
Mayor Donches.
Yes. So we will now go into non-public session. Make sure that the meeting is not being televised.
Make
Can you turn your mic on for now?
So, before we start,
Mayor, your mic is still on.
Yeah. We're now in public session, and I believe we've notified the videographer. Is there any further business that anybody wishes to transact? If not, I will turn to Mr. Spitia for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 And the meeting of the Board of Public Works is adjourned at 5:47 PM.